Hello guys, good day. This is Anne of Reinforce Me Club, your fellow positive reinforcer. Today we are going to talk about the dangers of distractions as well as the importance of self-restraint, or another way of saying self-discipline. In some point in our lives, we do need to discipline ourselves to be able for us to do the right thing, to get what we want, in spite of external and internal limitations imposed to us. Now, I am going to portray to you the story of Tantalus, a cautionary tale from Greek mythology, which is about distractions. Tantalus was a king, often described as the son of Zeus and immortal woman. Tantalus thinks that he is better. He could do anything, even crossing the boundaries between him and the gods. He wants to gain more power, better than the gods. He thinks that he is smarter than the gods. Although that's what's really in his head, the gods greatly favored him and even invited him to dine with them in Mount Olympus. However, because of his thinking, without even strategically planning it, he thinks that he can do anything he wants. That instance, his relationship to gods led him to his downfall because of his hubristic or excessive pride and immoral actions. Now, the narrative of Tantalus' interactions and relationship with the gods, he actually committed two major crimes. The first one was he stole the Ambrosia and Nectar, the food and drinks of gods and goddesses that will make them immortal and give them longevity of beauty and life. So this happened during Tantalus' visits to Mount Olympus. So he stole the ambrosia and nectar and brought them back to share with his friends, with the mortals. But the mortals weren't allowed to eat and drink the ambrosia and nectar. Otherwise, they're going to die. But Tantalus still did it. And this was a violation of divine trust. So, strike one for Tantalus, which is not good. The second thing that he did was he killed his own son. And, this is actually a heinous act. He wants to test the gods on how smart they are, their omniscience, by serving them a flesh of his son. So that's the reason why he simply killed his son. So he served them at the banquet. He wanted to see if the gods will ever find out, will ever notice if, they were being served with human flesh. Actually, the gods were indeed aware of Tantalus' actions and got horrified because the food was awful. Now, since they found out how crazy Tantalus was, they were able to come up with a punishment for these transgressions. So what the gods did was they condemned Tantalus to an eternal torment in Tartarus, the deepest part of the underworld. His punishment was quite ironic and fits him. His punishment was eternal hunger and thirst. Now, how in the world would that ever going to happen? And they're gods and goddesses. They can do anything. So what the gods did was Tantalus was placed in a pool of water with fruits hanging overhead. However, whenever Tantalus attempts to drink some water, the water recede. Whenever he tried to reach and drink some water, the water recedes. It stay away from him. And whenever he tried to reach for fruits, the branches move away. He cannot reach those fruits. And suddenly it was just close, and then it come too far. He couldn't eat. He couldn't drink. But the fruits and the water are just in the surrounding. It's just he can touch and feel it, but he can't eat. He can't drink. He can see it, he can feel it, but he cannot reach it. That is awful torment. That's a terrible torment, and it's forever. Now, he was forever tantalized, indeed, by food and drink that were always out of reach, although it's just in front of him, but still out of reach. So close, yet so far. So that was just an add-ons for me. Now, Tantalus' story serves as an allegory for distraction, particularly in how he was distracted by the temptations of the physical world, the power, greed, pride, that he's better than gods. And those were his, shall I say, desires. His focus on material gain, even at the expense of morality and divine laws, led him to commit unthinkable acts. And his inability to resist these temptations, his animalistic nature, his distractions, resulted in his eternal punishment. The word tantalize, which means to torment or tease with the sight of something desirable, but just out of reach, is derived from Tantalus' name. That is why this is one of the best examples of the story about distraction. It reflects the endless longing and the futile pursuit of satisfaction, mirroring how distraction can prevent one from achieving true fulfillment or peace. Tantalus' fate teaches the importance of humility, respect for divine and moral boundaries, and the perils of letting distraction lead to one's downfall. That is why it's important to self-regulate. And if you find it hard to resist yourself, then it's going to be hard. It's going to be a pain in the ass to really stay away. Keep yourself away from distractions. Now, I hope we both learn from the story. And if you ever loved this episode today, you can follow me in YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and even in Amazon Podcasts. This is Reinforce Me Club. And by the way, your fellow positive reinforcer, I do appreciate your time and have a lovely day ahead. Thank you very much.